and this one, which is so huge it can carry an entire fleet of other ships. Want to find out more about these colossal craft? Then you're gonna want to stick around, matey. Supersized container ship. To start off our search, let's head over to South Korea, where the record-breaking HMM Algeciras was launched back in 2020. This incredible container ship can carry almost 24,000 containers on its huge deck, which measures in 1,312 feet long and over 200 feet wide. That's almost the same size as 4 football fields laid end to end. Although you wouldn't be able to throw a pigskin around on this deck because it's usually loaded with standard 8-foot containers arranged in rows of 24 across. And when all of these are fully stacked up, they can reach a staggering 109 feet high. So, with space for all those containers, what can the HMM Algeciras lug over the lofty seas? Well, in a single voyage, it can transport more than 8.35 million microwave ovens, 223 million bananas, or if you prefer your comparisons with a little more soul, 386 and 32 containers are being constructed in China's shipyards as I speak. They're expected to set sail sometime in 2023, but until then, the HMM Algeciras remains the undisputed king of container ships. Now, if facts like this really float your boat, why not cruise that cursor of yours over to those like and subscribe buttons and give them a quick click. All done? Great. Now that we're in ship shape, let's dive back in. Colossal construction vessel. Often decked out in cranes, oil pipelines, and even oil rig topsides, the iconic twin hulls of the pioneering spirit make transporting these massive loads look like easy work. At 1,253 feet long and 407 feet wide, this supersized ship is considered to be the largest construction vessel in the world. It's so huge that if it were tipped on its side, it would be both taller and wider than the Eiffel Tower. And like that wasn't amazing enough, the pioneering spirit would have no problem hoisting up the 10,100-ton tower because its lift capacity reaches a phenomenal 48,000 tons. In fact, it's so powerful that in 2017, it broke the record for the largest single lift at sea by removing the 24,000-ton Brent Delta platform topsides. That's more than 6.5 times what that fancy French tower weighs. Now, lifting things on land is a pretty simple process, as many machines can be grounded and counterweighted with ease. But marine lifting vessels require complex engineering to ensure the vessel and its cargo don't suddenly capsize. And that's where the semi-submersible secret of the pioneering spirit comes into play. By partially submerging itself up to 88 feet below the waterline, it can slip its hulls underneath both sides of an oil rig topside. Centralizing the topside like this before cutting and lifting the entire installation reduces the massive removals before sailing away with its huge hulls safely and ingeniously secured on board. World's widest ship. At first glance, anyone looking at the ship might be mistaken for thinking it had been sliced in half. But don't let it fool you, because this is the full size of the Ramform Titan, though what it lacks in length, it makes up for in width. At 229 feet wide, this triangle-shaped ship has a back end, or stern to use its nautical name, wider than any other single-hulled ship in the world. Unfortunately, its odd proportions have also earned it the title of ugliest ship in the world. Although people wouldn't call it that if they knew what all that junk in its trunk was for. You see, the Ramform Titan is a seismic vessel used to detect and measure geological formations on the seabed. It manages this incredible feat by dragging 24 separate streamer cables lined with complex sensors over the tops of the waves. These are stored on a series of gigantic winches at the ship's stern, but when they're fully unraveled, each one is longer than 39,000 feet. So when they're spread over the water like this, they can cover an area that's over 4.5 square miles in size. This data then builds a comprehensive 3D survey of the seabed below, the formations of which can indicate if gas or oil fields lay hidden in the deep dark depths. But why does the Ramform Titan need to be so wide? Well, like the pioneering spirit, its extra width helps the ship stay stable in adverse weather, so it can gather clearer data from all those thousands of sensors. Its big behind also allows it to tow all 24 of those giant streamers without the risk of getting them tangled. So, this ship may not be the prettiest thing on the waves, but why would it need beauty when it's got all that booty? World's longest ship. If someone were to make a big-budget movie about the adventures of the aptly named Sea-Wise Giant, no one would believe it to be true. It would be a sensational story of the largest ship ever built being bombed, sunk, and then rescued from the bottom of the oceans to serve on the seas once again. Doesn't sound real, right? Well, originally built back in 1979, this crude oil tanker underwent an extensive 2-year refitting to become the largest ship in the world. Just how big did this make it? Well, its rudder weighed a colossal 208 tons. It could carry over 565,000 tons of cargo, and it reached a staggering 1,503 feet long. If it had been propped up on one end, it would have been taller than the Empire State Building. With all that size on its side, the Sea-Wise Giant could transport approximately 4.2 million barrels of crude oil at a time. For perspective, the same amount of water takes about 4 minutes to plunge over Niagara Falls. Or, for a deeper comparison, that's about 270 Olympic swimming pools filled to the brim with oil. But when it was fully laden with all that oil, it sat more than 80 feet below the waterline. This means it was so heavy that it couldn't pass through the English Channel or Panama Canal, because its lack of maneuverability threatened to beach the ship on the shallow seabed. But it wasn't this that ended up sinking it. Back in 1988, during the Iran-Iraq War, the tanker was callously bombed and sank into the shallow waves of the Iranian coast. But it was just too precious to leave rotting on the ocean floor, so it was miraculously salvaged, repaired, and renamed the Happy Giant. I mean, who wouldn't be happy to have a second shot at life like that? Once the 2 extensive years of repairs were complete, it was sold and renamed as the Yahar Viking. Then, in 2004, it was sold yet again to First Olsen, who renamed it one final time as the Knock Nevis. The tremendous tale finally came to a close in 2009, more than 40 years after it was built, when the tanker was eventually decommissioned and scrapped. Whoa! After all that drama, the Sea-Wise Giant makes the Titanic look like a drop in the ocean. Brilliant bulk carriers. When it comes to vessels that carry non-liquid cargoes, like heavy iron ore, there's only one class of ship that really puts the ore in more. The Valemax fleet are a class of very large ore carriers owned by the Brazilian mining company Vale S.A. The largest ship in the fleet, known as the MS Ore Brazil, measures in at almost 1,200 feet in length and more than 213 feet wide. This colossal steep ship has 7 separate holds, which are each the size of an entire tennis court. In one voyage, it can transport 11,150 trucks worth of iron ore from Brazil all the way to China. But with all that ore on board, it can't get there all that quickly. With a top speed of just 15.4 knots, or nearly 18 miles per hour for those of you who prefer roads to oceans, it takes around 45 days to reach its Asian destination. But just because ships of this size don't go super fast doesn't mean they can't crash. Unfortunately, one such ship, called the Shinyo Sawako, tragically proved this back in 2008. At nearly 1,070 feet long and 185 feet wide, it was only a little smaller than the MS Ore Brazil. The bulk carrier was traveling across the high seas of southern Japan when it suddenly collided with the Lurong-Yu 2177. Even though neither vehicle was traveling at a breakneck speed, the little vessel didn't stand a chance against the mighty hull of the Sawako, and it was all but destroyed. After the tanker was rescued by a salvage team, it was revealed that 16 crew members from the Lurong-Yu had tragically been sent to sleep with the fishes. It just goes to show that out in the ocean, size really does matter.